Hi, Robert. Welcome to We All Meet. Nice to see you. So this is a series that I'm running where I'm hoping to introduce the WEAll network to one another in sort of this casual, quick way. And I'm hoping that in doing this, our network can get a grasp on who's in the network and how each person is interested in contributing to creating a well-being economy, both locally and globally. And so each week I'm interviewing different people and I'll create these little YouTube shorts. So today I'm interviewing you, Robert,
Mhm.
my fellow Kenyan resident, a complex thinker, brilliant networker, fellow and employee of Bateson Institute. That is you. So a very warm welcome. And my first question is, yeah, I know we've spent many afternoons and evenings on phone calls and in person talking about all sorts of various topics, with the kind of ever common thread of a system and the complexity of that system. And I'm
Mhm.
curious what the origin of this thinking was for you, and yeah, what got you interested in the topic of economic systems change.
Well, I guess in my encounterings, regardless of the economic narrative, each one of them seems in general to propose that it stands for the prosperity and the betterment of all, and in various ways, each one has stories of validation and descriptions that validate the claims. But being Kenyan and being in the household that I was in, and of course being in tune with kind of how it was also a cultural phenomenon where it's quite difficult to make this thing called prosperity work, to say the least, for a good amount of people in this country. Um, yeah, it was clear that there was a sense of incongruence with this so-called idea of economics as something that works for everybody, when the reality is that it absolutely does not. And especially being in what has been called quote unquote global south, it's very easy to presume that it's something that is only of here. But I remember reading something from the Democracy Collaborative that was saying that the US tends to be a little bit conservative about reporting conclusively about poverty rates and that kind of stuff in the US. And they actually found a piece of information that says that nearly 40% of Americans cannot put together $400 in case of an emergency. So that really tells you that this is, and the paradox is that that's the wealthiest nation in the world. And so that tells you that this is actually a global phenomenon. So for me, it was really just beginning to seek pieces of information within this field that are aiming to bring it back into, so what does doing something that works for the collective and works for life more than human life mean? And so I've just been seeking those answers and questions in this field called post-growth, new economy, solidarity economy. So in brief, I would say that much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And right, it is interesting because, yeah, well, I could go on a tangent, and then the tangent that I was going to go on was
Mhm.
was about how, yeah, everyone in the US is in debt, right? And like debt isn't actually even accessible um, in Kenya for many people to get a loan or anything like this.
Mhm.
So with that, right, I think
Mhm.
there's this essence, at least I feel, especially in the city of Nairobi, where there's a hustle and like everyone, it's very common to have many hustles. And
Mhm.
these are this is what they say to sort of make ends meet. You have to have many jobs, be doing many things. And so
Mhm.
it still feels like there's an essence of hope. Like people are, they're moving. People are moving. Like
Mhm.
prosperity's around the corner.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you feel that or if you sense that in
Mhm.
your life. And maybe I'm living in a bubble. But curious if you do feel that. But also
Mhm.
like where are the other places that you seek hope,
Mhm.
given what you observe and experience every day?
Mhm. And I think, as you know, I am a person who has given a good amount of years in learning and in seeking and in finding and in reaching the edges of what I think is finding something and beginning to consider that, oh my gosh, that's just happening. Um, that's been my experience of the past couple of years. And what I find hope in, at least a sufficient amount, um, is in just realizing the possibility that is there to be found if we really open ourselves to the learnings and the shiftings that are opening up for this time for us globally to be present to and to attend to, and what's possible in terms of what kinds of changes could happen.
Mm,
Um, and so I've found that I find myself every day is a new day, because that's a personal commitment I've made to really be in the grooves of what this time is calling me to be in, to unfold with. So I find my little sense of hope there, but also acknowledging as well that there is a sense of rigidity um, amongst many people in the established systems and the people who really hold the power to make things change. So there's a paradox there that the learning offers so much, but it's not everybody, especially the people whom we should count on and rely on to stand for us to really be in the grooves of what this time is calling for. So it's a little bit of a paradox, but nonetheless, I stay in that place and I connect with so many people in the world who are. So that I would say that much.
thank you. Beautifully said, as always. um Curious, what's one thing, attribute, perspective
Mm-hmm.
that you, if you could, take and spread to the world? What is one thing that you maybe think is missing from, are you understanding my question? Like, if you could influence the world with one perspective or attribute or knowledge bit, what do you feel like is missing, that could support the shift that's needed?
Mm-hmm. Mm. Let me give that 5 seconds. We are at the center, and we are in our little existence in the world as individuals. We are part of the meta, and that the little things that we do, they reverberate out into the broader ecologies of our existence. And so, not thinking of complexity and systemic thinking and practice as second nature, but it really starts here. And so the things that happen in the household, in the intimate relationships, at the workplace, those are things that reverberate out. And I guess the best thing to find is how the intimate micro connects with the systemic macro, and to find place to exist in that is, I think, what I was trying to say, in probably a little bit of a complicated way, but that is what I would offer as something that I am not an expert at, but I am in the learning to
Yeah,
find out. Yeah.
sure. Beautifully said.
Mhm,
Thank you. Um,
mhm.
and we got there. That's good.
We did.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, but that is the time that we have today, and I really appreciate you chatting with me. Yeah, thank you. And we'll speak soon.
For sure.